Good evening, everyone. My name is Zon Eastis, and I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting of the regular meeting of the Guilford Selectboard on Monday, August 26th. We're starting at 6:30. And just so everyone knows, I'm wearing a mask because I'm at a conference right now, and there are people from all over the country here. So we're sort of created a COVID bubble to make sure we're all healthy. So I came out of it. So here I am with a mask.
I didn't notice.
Yeah. All right. Let's see, I just need to say that folks that are online, it looks pretty good, but I see one person labeled as Zoom user. We need to see a first and last name according to the statute for open meeting law.
And Vicky.
And Vicky, maybe let's look at screen 2 here if we can.
Why are there people here?
All right, I think we're good then. Mary M, just want to be sure that we know what your first and last name is. It's required by statute. So if you can get that changed in the next couple of minutes, great. If not, we'll have to put you out in the waiting room.
In the cloakroom.
In the cloakroom, yes. Okay, let's start with the rules of procedure.
Sure.
Thank you.
The Select Board, as required by law, conducts meetings in accordance with Vermont Open Meeting Law 1 V.S.A. 310 to 314. At these meetings, the public must be afforded a reasonable opportunity to give its opinion on matters considered by the Select Board so long as order is maintained. Such public comment is subject to the reasonable rules established by the chair of the Select Board, which is according to Vermont Statute 1 V.S.A. 312H. While the law clearly establishes the right of public participation, right is not without its limits. The statute reads, at an open meeting, the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to express its opinion on matters considered by the public body during the meeting. As long as order is maintained, public comment shall be subject to reasonable rules established by the chairperson.
Thank you, Chair.
You got it, buddy.
Thanks very much. All right, we'll move on to changes to the agenda, and I don't think there are any, I'm not aware of any this evening. So we'll move right ahead to this portion of the meeting, public comment. We reserve 10 minutes at the beginning of the meeting for folks who have a comment they'd like to make. And all right, I see some hands just looking around.
And Don.
Yes, okay. I think we'll start with Don because he had let us know he wanted to let us know early on. So, Don,
Oh, I have to ask to unmute.
we'll let him unmute and then press it again. There you go.
There.
Thank you, Don.
How's that?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm reporting on behalf of the Board of Civil Authority on the recent primary election. And I'm not reporting on the results. I'm reporting on the mechanism of the election itself. And the short version of my report is that it went very well. In advance of Election Day, we had very tight procedures in the town office, always with 2 members of the Board of Civil Authority present when ballots were handled as they came in the mail or whatever, and in the testing of the voting machine, which happens ahead of time. On the morning of the election, a large group of people, including a number of V.S.A. members, took all of the ballots, that is both absentee ballots and the blank ballots and all the other voting materials, and transported them to the polling place at Guilford Central School. And during the entire day at the school, every operation and procedure that involved the ballots always involved 2 people on a team. Nothing was ever done by a single person acting alone. And that applies to running the tabulating machine at the end of the day and checking the results and looking at write-ins and all the little technical details that go on at that point, and packing everything up and bringing it all back to the town office. So we feel really good about our security measures. I'd mentioned that 2 pleasant things that happened that day were we had a number of young voters who voted for the first time ever. And because Vermont a few years ago enacted a same-day registration law, we were able to register a fair number of people who are residents of Guilford, but who are not on the voter checklist. And using a procedure the Secretary of State outlines, we were able to register those people and they were able just to go and vote right away. One more thing is that we have the general election coming up, and the V.S.A would like to give voters a heads up that, just as happened with the last general election, the state has decided that it's going to mail a ballot to every single registered voter, whether the voter requests that ballot or not. So it's as if you had requested an absentee ballot, you'll receive one in the mail. You may vote those ballots just as you would an absentee ballot. But the special catch is that if you decide you want to come to vote in person on November 5th, you must bring that ballot with you. And that's it for today. And I'd like to thank everyone who participated and helped with this election, and everyone who voted. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Thank you very much. All right. I think I saw a couple of hands here. Okay.
I'm Connie Burton, Weatherhead Hollow Road, and I just want to say briefly that with Danielle's departure, the town of Guilford has lost an absolute treasure. And I feel doubly sad because I feel as though she was driven out by her co-workers who are elected officials. And I think that's just terrible.
I'm Lynn LaTulip King, and first I would like the public to know that a month after Danielle became the town clerk, Zahn held a team meeting. Lisa, Erica, Ellie were present. Zahn at that time stated that as an elected position, you are the only seam left in the office, and the select board's goal is to eventually have a seamless staff. She felt that a target was placed on her that day. Secondly, during your July special meeting, you all referred to her as toxic. Why haven't you looked at the behavior she's endured? You've requested that she sign a policy for her benefits to stay in place. I've looked at some of the language in the policy, and you stated discipline and use the language of at will. And we all know that at will means you can be let go at any time for no reason, and the clerk position answers to the people. You've allowed Steve Lemke to speak beyond his allotted time, and he's been allowed to attack her character repeatedly. She's a young woman.
Lynn, you speak to me, please.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
And don't refer to him any further, please. Thank you.
Yes. Well, I have to finish what I'm saying. They've been with lies, and I will say that from the town meeting to these letters, in fact, and you're all lying, because if you had taken and looked at that envelope that was held up by Mr. Lemke, it isn't the town's envelope. It does not state the address. But even so, the select board allowed him to speak about a young woman who has been doing her job, and I have to say that was the nicest election that I believe I've ever attended. So we all know now that everyone knew that was not a letter from this office. It was not an envelope from this office. You made her look bad based on the thing about the vaults. I get it. There's a lot of conversation. But the paper, I had a gentleman come in at elections and said he's friends with Erica. Rodney, I think the Commons. He said he gets his information from Erica and Facebook. This is all affected a young woman from this town. You've repeatedly said, everyone has said, we hope for kids to grow up here and stay here and work here. Many people want our town clerk to have a public apology for all that she's truly endured. And I stand here, we all know that I'm her mom, but she's a young woman who loves this town, loves the people, and she radiated. If there was any footage that day at our election, it is with pride and joy She greeted everyone. It did not matter, Democrat, Republican, Independent, and I did the same. It was like old home day for us. And I just hope that as a staff, as select board, that you really look, how can we allow public comment based on something that you all knew was not a town letter? And I'm glad that it was held up and filmed, because I was the one who was able to see this. And so I thank you for the time. I may have gone over the 3 minutes, but I appreciate it. But she has worked hard, and she deserves better than what has happened here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank
Are there any other comments here in the room?
There's some people
On the screen.
So Kelly Young, I believe.
Kelly Young.
To unmute. I'll hit it again.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I have to say that I'm a little bit outside the sphere of a lot of what's been going on. So I've heard little bits and pieces here and there, and it's all kind of disconcerting because this is a small town of people, of neighbors. I appreciate, as a resident of the town, being able, and a homeowner, being able to go in and meet with any of the people who are working there at the town office, and being able to be, advised or assisted, and being able to rely on them. So whatever it is that has happened, it's very upsetting as a resident of the town that whatever it has happened. And I would support having some sort of an independent look into this, just to make sure. I mean, I'm concerned about liability to the town. If this person has indeed been pushed out, I'm concerned that the board might have some liability for a lawsuit. So all our taxes are way too high anyways. And so aside from the fact that we don't really want to treat our neighbors poorly, we want to be neighbors. We want to be neighborly. And so that's where my concern is.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Barry Oleshnik.
That is 10 minutes.
Oh, sorry, Barry, 1 second, please, Barry. Do you mind if we go on just to let Barry speak? And
I
we'll
would
stop?
like to make a motion to let everyone speak.
Okay. Barry? Oh, let's see. Sorry, 1 second. So you'd like to make that motion?
I'll second it.
All right, Chuck. All right. All right. Any discussion here? All right. We can just say, since we're all in the room, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you. Barry?
Yes, thank you. Barry Oleshnik, Melindy Hill Road. I just want to reflect on one thing that I heard Lynn say. She said it briefly at the beginning, but then she underscored it strongly towards the end. So I feel it important to express my view on one aspect of it. I don't have any skin in this game. I must say that every time I had dealings in the town office, I was very pleased with interactions and competency by Danielle. And tonight, just now, is the first time that I've heard that she needed to depart. One thing I wanted to say about that letter, I only heard about that letter and saw the interaction at the last select board meeting. Nothing before and nothing after. At no time during those conversations, which came up from, I believe, the board and from Steve, was there the implication that it came from the town office. Nothing that I heard. And I was a total impartial observer to a brand new topic. Nobody claimed it came from the town office. What was claimed and obvious was that it was made to look like an official letter because the return address had Town of Guilford. But I didn't hear anybody imply or allege that it actually was done by the town office illegally or extra officially or anything else. That was my view as somebody who didn't know the situation and was coming at it cold and fresh until now. So that was a little bit of a misallegation, I think, on Lynn's part. just to clear it up from what I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the room who would like? Yes.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't see.
Oh, I'm sorry, my name
Yeah, it's okay. Deborah McNeil, Sweet Pond Road. It was stated for, if you want to review that last meeting again, where Mr. Lemke did state, because we were sitting in approximately the same seating, and he said, I'm sure that this came from in the town, and we wanted to do an investigation. Both Zahn and Mr. Lemke had letters. They stated they had letters that came with an addressed from town of Guilford, but it was not official. But yes, it was stated. I heard it, and you can review that that meeting and listen to it for yourself.
Okay. Is there anyone else you'd like to comment?
Steve Lemke, River Road. I would encourage everybody who's interested in seeing what really did happen and know what happened is to look at this last meeting on VCTV and make your own judgment. And then there won't be any sort of things that this is what somebody said. You can listen to it yourself. I stand by my comments, what they were about the letter, and I believe them to be true.
All right. All right.
Yeah, I agree as far
What,
as.
excuse me,
Oh,
what's
I'm
your-
sorry,
that's
Dana
right.
Sargent, Creamery
Yeah.
Road. The whole thing with Danielle absolutely breaks my heart. She had a really rough year, and that should not have happened. On another note, because I know we don't have a lot of time, I wanted to talk a little bit about, you guys are going to be discussing the Algiers Traffic Calming Committee Demonstration Project and the letter of support. I don't really know what that means. But my thought is, it's a letter of support possibly to apply for a grant. At the last meeting that we had, I questioned about the letter from Doug Richmond, and I was told that because the letter was addressed just to Erica, that it wasn't being reviewed at your select board meeting. But in that letter that Doug sent, he said in it that he doesn't think there's a need for a sidewalk. I have a couple of other concerns about the committee that was formed. It seems like it's not an unbiased committee. The committee is made up of all the people that want to see sidewalks in that area and crosswalks. I think it would be beneficial if there were other people in the town that aren't that tightly connected to that project to have some input, to maybe consider signage, dangerous intersection, possibly consider one of those big mirrors so that, because it sounds like there's more concern about traffic trying to exit the country store, being able to see from the southbound traffic coming up. I don't know why a mirror wouldn't be enough. Sidewalks are gonna be a huge expense to the town, and it will continue to be an expense. Sidewalks fail, they're expensive, you have to keep them cleared. I don't know how you could keep a sidewalk clear that goes between Route 5 and the country store. That just seems crazy in the winter months. So I would like to say that we wait and look into this whole project that they're trying to come up with a little closer. I don't know why it has to be such a hurry to hurry up and do it now.
Thank you. Thank you. Eric,
So
identify yourself.
Eric Morse, live off Sweet Pond Road, and I'm on the Traffic Safety Committee that was referred to. Is this the discussion about the Traffic Safety
No.
Committee?
We'll be talking about it a little later.
Just one comment, that letter is not an application for a grant. It's a letter to ask of support from the Select Board to AOT, not for a grant, but for a demonstration project. I know that, just a comment that someone who wishes to remain anonymous spoke to Doug Richmond and gave him this information about what the Traffic Safety Committee is about. I had spoken to Doug, showed him the maps, what our discussion was, and explained the demonstration project to him. And then he said someone came to his place of business, went on a rant for 45 minutes, and accused the select board and the committee of making decisions that weren't transparent. I asked him who that person was, and he said they wished to remain anonymous. I said, doesn't that seem a little absurd, accusing us of being not transparent and wishing to remain anonymous? So he agreed with that. He said he would ask the person if he could reveal their name. And I said, okay, why don't you go ask Tammy Sargent if you could reveal her name? And he laughed for about 5 minutes. Just a comment.
Thank you.
Okay. I would like a chance to respond to that.
No, I'm sorry.
No, because I did not ask to be labeled anonymous. I told him exactly who I was, and I never said anything about keep my name anonymous.
Okay,
I
thank
have
you.
no problem putting my name to it. The only thing I told Doug Richmond is that this group of people have been getting together for over a year, and the select board didn't make them an official committee until April.
Thank
So
you.
here we are a few months later. I'm just saying, I don't like if you come in and try to make it sound like I'm sending mistruths. I didn't tell him anything that wasn't true.
You told him we were taking his parking spaces.
I did not tell him
Folks,
this.
excuse me,
Okay.
you cannot speak to one another, please. You
Yes.
cannot speak to one another. You can speak to me and we'll stop the comments for right now. We need to do our business. You can do your business out in the parking lot if you like, either now or later. We have business we need to do here this evening, which we'll continue to do, and there will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting to talk about anything that we talk about during the meeting. So appreciate that very much. We'll move ahead now.
Can I say something?
Yes, Tara.
I just want to say something about the letters, because the select board received a letter about a week prior to people in town receiving the letter, and it was anonymous. When we mentioned that letter, we said that we can't read the letter because nobody signed their name. Other than that, like, we really know nothing about the letter. It did say from the town of Guilford. Then, certain people in town got the letter. Not everyone got the letter, the newest letter. This had nothing to do with the select board, like, saying anything about who wrote the letter. The Democratic National Committee and the Vermont Democratic Committee, and I think the Secretary of State is investigating the letter because of what was in the letter. And many of us on the select board have not even seen the letter that was sent to townspeople. So for people to come in and say and blame us, the select board, for saying that the letter was sent from the town is not true at all.
I have no idea what was in the letter.
All right, folks, we'll move ahead now. Thanks very much. We need to approve the minutes of the last regular meeting, which was August the 12th.
I so move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Chip. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, then we'll move on to the finance, and we'll look at the warrants. Now, are you prepared, Tara? to do
Yes,
that?
yeah.
Thanks very much.
I would like to move to accept the warrants as written. Payroll week ending 8/18/24 is $9,414.49. Payroll week ending 8/25/24 is $8,606.36. Expense warrant number 2504 for $23,116.09, and expense warrant 2504F for $45.50. The total is $41,182.44.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I reached out to Erica because there is an expense for the Kubota tractor for $1,541.56, as well as $162.58. And I know that the Kubota was purchased in March of 2023, so it should have a warranty. I asked her about that. It does have an extended warranty for $4,500 that we added, so I don't know why we're paying any expenses on that tractor. So maybe Dan can let us know,
Yeah,
because
I'll
we
have to
really
check.
shouldn't be having to pay anything
Good
on
eye.
that. Truck repairs were over $8,000. Health insurance, $7,845.55. That's going to go up, and we will keep track of that. And then we have a tree removal. The budget's $20,000, and Anson Baldwin started that project. So we've spent $2,200 on that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions for Tara or any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving the warrants, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Any abstaining?
I'll abstain. I don't understand. So if is there a question on if this 1,541 and change,
Yeah.
and then 160, so then we don't approve the approve the warrants, right? We approve
I
everything
think
but
we
that.
can approve the warrants, but what we'll do is then it will get credited if it needs to.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
If Danny
All right.
questions it.
Yeah, we'll have to have Danny question it.
Okay.
He submitted it, so we're just honoring his submission.
Got it.
All right, then we'll look at we'll move on to updates and reports, and we'll first hear from Town Administrator Erica.
Okay, so yeah, it's been a very busy and crazy time in the town office. I have installed, I think temporarily, but our blink cameras are up and working. They're only on when the office is closed. It's working well. No bears or people after hours. I'm working on a very large public records request that I received from the State of Vermont Democratic Party about various things. It's just a lot of different things to cover. Everybody in the town office got that request, and so soon I will be able to fulfill that. Another law that became effective July 1st that I just learned about by talking to someone who called and asked about it is that this whole state of Vermont now requires, it's typical anyway for us to do it, but some people aren't doing it, and the legislature has said that Vermont will now require 4 feet of room given by motorists to bicycles on the road. And if you can't give 4 feet of space to a cyclist, you can't pass them. So this is another new thing, and I asked Danny if we should have signs, and he said, sure, let's have a sign every mile.
So does that mean that
So I think he was kidding.
that means we have to have 4 feet of shoulder? Or
No,
does that mean if that
it's
4
just
feet
if
on
it's,
the road?
if it's a narrow road and that spot where you're trying to pass them doesn't allow 4 feet, then you have to just be behind them until
Okay,
you can
okay,
pass them.
okay.
I don't think they're saying that we have to have the
Okay.
shoulder. I think it's just use common sense
Right.
courtesy, but now it's a law.
Only pass if you have 4 feet.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, so we might get additional signs. I'm gonna check with the state to see if they have any help financially for this mandate that they've given, but I don't know. We'll just see, maybe, one when you enter the state.
Right.
So.
And so Erica, is this something where there would be more information about it, like a video about do's and don'ts or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I just heard of it. I know that it's true, but I haven't got any more guidance than that. That would be nice. Okay, so there's Ellie and I met with the new librarian and John Shaw, who's the trustee treasurer, to talk about what's going on with the library and ways that the town office and the library can work together to get bills paid, and we plan to meet regularly, so that's good. And in relation to that, I don't see anybody from the library here, maybe Kathy is, but I can remind everybody that there's a cello concert to benefit the library at the Meeting House on September 7th. So that information about that is on the library's website. Something that I post in the town office that I sometimes post on the website, but I'm not sure where it should go, and there may be not time because they send it sometimes on Thursday, sometimes on Saturday. But every week during the summer, during the E. coli season, there's a group called the Deerfield Valley didn't write their name down, but they've been, every year they've been monitoring the E. coli levels in local bodies of water, and they send to us. The only one that I really look at is the Green River swimming area by the dam, and it was really interesting because it was really high a couple weeks ago, and now it's gone back to low. So it's crazy how that works. And I got a letter today from the Guilford Fire Department saying that their boot drop is going to be September 3rd. Nope, sorry, September 2nd, which is Monday, Labor Day, from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. right outside the fire station. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Erica? All right, do you, anything that, Dan is not here tonight, so is there any report from Dan? Would you say?
So I'm not sure, but Slate, I'm sorry,
Stage
Stage
Road?
Road,
He was
yes.
headed out there tonight
Oh,
to
he was
sort things
just
out
going,
from
okay,
the
so-
rainstorm.
The
Yeah,
storm just
yeah, it
happened.
was a crazy rainstorm,
Yeah.
but Stage Road is also closed from 8:30
To 2:30.
a.m. to 2 p.m. Every day this week unless they finish early. They're doing culvert, MT3 is doing culverts on the downhill stretch that really needs it, so.
Yeah, and the town has been out doing a lot of remediation from the last bunch of rainstorms, which have really sort of gutted a lot of the roads.
Yeah, so that's probably why David's not here at this moment.
Okay, good. How's that working? Okay, good. Thank you, Erica. Thank you. Let's go on into old business, and the first topic that the select board will take up is the Algiers Traffic Calming Committee demonstration project, a request for a letter of support. I'd like to just say here that this is not a request for, it's not an addition to any grant application. It's not heading in that direction necessarily. There's going to be, it's a very initial statement of support that we believe that if we were to approve it, that the select board believes that this is a project that's worth exploring with the state. That's essentially what the letter says. There's no promise of any money expenditures. There's no promise of any money coming in because of a letter like this. It's simply to say we want to begin looking at this idea with the state in a serious way. All the work that would be required to achieve any of the next steps, like community engagement, such as some of our residents have been talking about, deeper community engagement or deeper understanding of engineering or deeper understanding of what might be possible or what might be necessary as far as budgeting from a point of view of placing anything there that might cost the town ongoing costs. That would all come at a later moment at which the select board would always have a look. Nothing will happen here without the select board being on top of what's going on. So this is, I want to just be really clear that we're not stepping into anything in a big way right here. Potentially, yes, down the road there will come questions, just like with anything that we look at. But at this moment, all we're doing is essentially shaking hands with the state, saying we'd like to continue a conversation, or we'd like to open this conversation through a demonstration project. And we'll learn more about what that means as we go along. So,
I can describe the process in this a little bit. So it's not an application, it's not a grant at all, it's just a project, a standalone project. It's sort of a new thing that V-Trans is allowing towns to do. They did one in Newfane, very similar to this a few years ago. But basically, after we write the letter, ask and send the draft of the map of the proposed project that you have all seen, then V-Trans gets back to us and tells us what may actually be possible. And even better than whatever the project might be in the end, we have gotten the attention of not just our local reps at V-Trans, but people throughout the state and V-Trans, like other V-Trans people higher up than Mark Pickering and Megan, that can bring awareness to Guilford and our issues here. So for that alone, I would think it's worth it to send this first letter request for the project.
So before we discuss it, I think it'd be good to just get a motion on the table that, and then we can approve the motion or not. So I will move that we would authorize Erica we have the letter, a potential letter prepared, that we would sign it and Erica would send it off. And so I need to know if there's a second for that, so we
I
can
would
have it.
second that.
Thank you, Brenda. Okay, now, very frank, open discussion here. We can have it all.
So the letter would be sent and then they would approve, they're going to do the demonstration project or we are? And it would be maybe $750 up to $2,000.
That's a really
And that's
rough
full of
estimate, but
bollards and hay bales.
whatever they say is
Okay.
allowable for what, they're gonna take the project that we proposed and say, you can do this piece, you can do that piece, you definitely can't do that piece, why don't you try this other thing? And it's,
So they're gonna come back at us
Yes.
and say, try this and it will cost you $500.
something
Yeah,
like that,
and
yeah.
we
And
will-
then
And
when
we
the
get
select
to
board
say
gets to
yes or
say yes or
no.
no.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we're just really voting on sending them a letter.
Yes, to
Okay.
engage, to help, to shake hands, essentially.
What if we don't send a letter? Why is a letter needed?
Then we won't necessarily, as I understand it, Erica can perhaps say more. What I understand is that we're not stating formally that the community's interested in exploring this with the state. And so they probably would have less interest in furthering the project or any kind of effort in this regard.
My thoughts are, I'm for the letter and having them say what kind of project to start. But if they say, like even if we agree to a $500 project and then they say, okay, I think that you need sidewalks and it's a bigger money item, I think it should be in the town meeting. I think that it should be voted on by the people,
Yeah.
not just us. Because I think that it's a real, there's a lot to it and a lot of people have opinions.
Hear that?
Yeah, I don't want it to be a select board driven decision because of that. I also think that, and when I looked at it, I think there could have been a much higher level of public engagement with the 3 meetings.
I think we'll get that, just to say it.
Yeah.
We can demand that, we can request that.
Because I just think from an attendance standpoint, I don't know how many committee members there were, 5 or 6, but there was sparse attendance from at least 4 out of the 6 for those 3 meetings, which I don't think was a best way to utilize the skill set. I think the presentation fell short. I understand that, that Eric and others had reached out to abutters, to get their opinions or insider thoughts, and that wasn't presented when he came up with the $2,000 or up to $2,000. I've gone out there and talked with Doug Richmond as well. He said it's not a pedestrian issue, it's a vehicle issue. In fact, his quote I thought was great. He said that he always tells people when they get up to that that intersection, they have to not just look, but see. And he specifically told me that there might be 2 or 3 people a week, from a pedestrian standpoint, trying to get across that road. So, there was all kinds. I talked to Allie at the country store, and she'd love to get the mover moved. While I thought a great place to do it was the fire station, but you can't because of calls. But you could put it at the church parking lot, behind there, which is now pulling people off of Route 5 to get there. There are more questions and more angles and more logistics, I think, that needed to be considered before they brought this proposal up for $2,000. And the other thing too is it's not a personal tiredness, but we're not, the select board, we're not in the endorsement business. We're not the good housekeeping seal of approval. And it seems like a lot of people want a select board letter of support for whatever reason, because it carries a lot of credentials and credibility, especially in the community. So I think that needs to be filtered pretty effectively. Now, is the intersection dangerous? It absolutely is. And as Doug Richmond clearly said, it's more of a vehicle issue than a pedestrian issue. But I don't mind. I don't like it's semantics. I don't even like it being called a letter of support. I would do inquiry, possibility, potential, whatever you want to call it. Support means that we back it. And, you know, I'm not necessarily backing this. I think that what we need to do is initiate a discussion with the state, who I know can be frustrating and slow to deal with. And I think that's one of the reasons why they put it in our court as well, because now suddenly we're in line with that as well. And it's become part of our responsibility or under our purview, which, you know, I don't think is necessary. So I don't mind doing a letter, but I would put some severe restrictions on it, and I would absolutely have no financial ramifications associated with it all. Not $500, not $750, not $2,000, zippo. And we could say, look, it's a dangerous intersection. The state needs to get up and rolling on this. Let's move on it and get the process started. But that's it. That's all I would do.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you.
I think that it's not a pedestrian issue because nobody's been hit yet.
Yeah.
So this has been going on for years and years and years when other people were select board members that aren't even here now.
Right.
So it's definitely an ongoing thing, and I don't want people to think that the select board does not think that it's a safety issue.
No, I clearly, it's a dangerous intersection, but
Right.
you know, when you talk with people like Allie and Wayne at the store, and then Doug Richmond, who has been there for like 40 years, you know, yeah, that carries a lot of weight. He says it's a vehicle issue more than a pedestrian
Right.
issue.
And these are traffic calming measures that help
Up Route
pedestrians.
5,
Yeah,
but
well, it's traffic
yeah.
calming, yeah,
But-
but you can't do it that way
No.
according to the state. You can't put a stop sign, you can't put a flashing light, because that's all the state's purview. So,
right.
so this is how we have to start.
This is the beginning.
Yes, the beginning. But I mean,
Yes.
even the
And this
crosswalk,
is a very limited
yeah.
demonstration project. It's not ever gonna come to like, oh yeah, it should be sidewalks and here's
Well,
the bill for
you
the
know,
sidewalk.
You know, I wonder, if they had a traffic engineer as part of the committee when they made the
I
recommendation.
think
That's
just
outside
cut
of
you-
purview.
No, I just think that's where we're going
Okay.
next. If we
Potentially.
show that we have some interest in the health, the safety of this intersection,
Yeah.
then all the things you're talking about, which are community engagement, budget looking, engineering looks, all of that, community, all of that are the next steps that then it becomes our job to make sure that it's where we want it going
Okay.
forward.
Well, I think, can I say something? Yeah, I think there are a lot of, so to speak, moving parts here. And there are issues that would come up whether the select board is right now taking action to initiate an overture to the state. I mean, between the mover,
Right, right.
you know, and the church used to have a bigger parking lot, but their
Right.
parking lot is smaller because they built the park. And, you know, I mean, it's just and then there are all the people who live in the housing right there.
Yeah.
Who really need to have a way to weigh in, so to speak,
Right.
about what their comings and goings are. And so, to me, the letter is just saying to the state, at least what I'm willing to say, is we're taking this on. Our town is taking on this conversation to see how far we can get together, you know, in this. You know, Algiers used to be a big deal, you know, and then Algiers was nothing. And then Algiers got to be much more of a village center, a small village center. So we're trying to respond to the way it is now.
Right,
and
right.
it's still changing.
Oh, yeah, it's always.
So, you know, and I'm sure the people who live on Partridge Road And,
Right.
you know, that they'll have things that they want to say about safety, walkability, et cetera.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's what I'm saying is it's gotta be, the spectrum and the scope has gotta be broadly wide.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'd just be interested to hear it since Danny's here.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry, I might have to go take care of a tree for a bit.
Yeah.
just curious if you have any opinion on this matter.
You know, it's been an ongoing problem down here for years and years, you know, and I'm a short timer here, so it would be whatever the board recommends that you guys wanna do, because it's gonna be the highway guys that's gonna have to deal with it.
Well, that would definitely be part of the voice that needs to be
Yeah,
part of the
I mean,
project.
that's, you know, it's up to the board what they decide to do on that, but, it is what it is. If you guys decide to do whatever you wanna do down here, I'm sure the guys are gonna be more than happy to do whatever's gonna be done or not to be done.
Okay, thanks.
oh, could I ask Dan a question? Is there one person in the highway department who usually deals with that part of town? Or, oh, would that be you?
I deal with everything.
All right, so we know
Not
our
just any
guy.
part of the town, I deal with the
Okay.
whole.
All right, so there's a lot of discussion, a lot of varying opinions, a lot of ideas here, and they're all valuable and worthy. So, but I think we can go ahead and take a vote on whether or not we can propose this, or, you know, step up to offering this letter to the state so that we can begin this conversation. So if people are comfortable, I'd like to take a vote now.
So just make sure, so it's just letter only, it's not the
There's
750.
there's not a dollar, there's not
Alright.
if you read it, there's not a single dollar amount in there, and there won't be until we have a further discussion. So
Okay.
we're very clear that we're not committing anything.
So essentially, with the letter, you're telling, or we're, you know, I say we, but the town of Guilford is telling the state to get into gear on this. It's been an issue for decades. It's a safety issue. There's gonna be fatalities, and it needs to be corrected and fixed, and this is the first step, which I'm totally for. That's the only, and this is the first step in the
I
process.
think
Okay,
that's,
perfect.
that's, if you're, yeah, I think that's how I understand it too. All right,
All right.
so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Okay.
Thank you very much. All right, then we move on to let you know if folks are willing, I'd like to go backward for just a second, just adjust. Dan's here now. Danny, do you have anything you want to tell us?
Yeah,
First, let me just check and make sure we're all okay.
Yeah. Was that tree on Green River? Okay.
So,
It was on you.
we'll take
I
your,
couldn't get behind it, so.
we'll take your road report now.
Paving on the hollow is done,
Yes.
the shoulder work is done. The state come in right after we lucked out, the state come right in, did the center lines like 3 or 4 days after we got it paved. So the center lines are done, not gonna do any edge lines, because that can be done next year. Every other year you do your edge lines. You have to figure that in the budget for next year,
Okay.
when you do the budget. MT3 started on the backside of Green River Hill today, they got 6 culverts in.
Wow.
They had 4 excavators running, so it didn't take them long.
They've got
And they
this-
got caught right in the middle of that downpour, and it's not bad. I just went over the hill, and it's a little soupy here and there, but not bad. So they got 1 more culvert to put in. The road will be closed for 1 more day, just so it ain't gonna take them long to do that 1 culvert they gotta do, but they're gonna take advantage of doing some digging on the ditches. But after tomorrow, traffic will be back to normal, on the hill, so people can have to use caution when they're going down the hill, going by the equipment. We started doing our fall grading. We started on Packers Corners Road, we did Green River Road the other day. Of course, you get this rain like we just had.
Right.
Washed it all out.
Everything is,
It's all gone.
it's potholy, and it's gonna take time. I mean, actually, as of this morning, when I went riding around, the roads ain't in too bad a shape. We got a few ditches here and there and a few potholes, but as far as the seal on them, they're not bad, but we'll do everything. It usually takes us about, Oh, it takes us a month to do all the grading. And I wanna get it started on it before the leaves start coming down, and we're still mowing roadsides. When we're gonna be start setting culverts on our stuff that we gotta do. I got various roads in town we're gonna be doing culvert work on, so. What I usually do is give Erica an update, put it on the website. This is what we're gonna be doing. The road's gonna be closed for a couple hours while we do a culvert. Then as soon as we get one lane open, we put traffic over through it, so. Other than that, I guess that's about it.
That's just about it.
Dan, can I
Thank
ask
you.
you a question?
Yep.
About the Kubota, we had a couple expenses.
Yeah, that's.
Isn't it under warranty?
No, we did not get no extended warranty on that machine.
We did get an extended warranty on the machine.
Yeah, but that,
Oh, it's done now.
what that covers, it doesn't cover blades.
Oh,
One big
that's-
part of that bill is
yeah.
blades, and then you get your first annual, you gotta pay for the first service. After we get so many hours on it, I have them come in and go right through the machine. That means the rear end, front end, hydraulic, all that, and that's gonna be another big, that's all separate. It's not like the grader, and we bought the extended warranty, that covers everything except for tires.
Okay,
The warranty is just, that's if your motor goes, or the hydraulic
there's
motor.
stipulations on it.
Right,
Because, so parts aren't covered? Okay,
only your major,
and that's what it was?
only your major components. And that one bill was, he come down and, you got one bill that's for almost
1,500,
16, that's blades.
okay,
And we usually go through, oh God, we usually go through 8-9 sets of blades a year.
okay.
So. And they're not cheap.
Nothing's cheap,
Nothing's cheap, well, you know.
nothing's cheap. Thanks,
Yeah.
Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Dan, thank you. We're gonna talk next about the Slate Rock Road Culvert Project Management. So I'll turn that over to Erica, but you may have anything you want to say about that, so.
Okay, yeah, I can. It's not really, I have just a small update. Project management, and this is something that Danny recommended too, should be probably done by Wyndham Regional. It's something they often do for big projects like this. This one is pretty complicated because there's federal and state money and V-Trans requirements and federal requirements. They do a lot of the legwork that otherwise I would have to do. And the way it works is they hire a consultant, like an engineer, who works throughout the project, and then they have a committee, which one select board member would be on the committee with them, and so they have regular meetings to review the work, the stuff that's required to be signed. Anytime they put out bids, they approve the bids, it's usually the lowest bidder. They follow federal procurement rules. They follow V-Trans procurement rules. They coordinate all the meetings and the recordings that need to be done. So when we get to that part, the select board can assign a representative to go to those meetings with Wyndham Regional about the culvert project. Let's see.
Erica,
Yes.
can I ask you?
Yeah.
What is your-
Oh, are you?
Oh, well, no, I'm still going, but you can
Oh,
ask
good.
me.
No, go ahead.
Please.
No, that's okay. I can wait.
I'm just looking at my notes to see if I missed anything. So they write the contracts and negotiate some of them, most of them. And I have a list of other projects that they've done project management for. Newfane, Wyndham, Wardsboro, Stratton, Athens, Rockingham, Londonderry. Specifically, Wyndham, Rockingham, and Londonderry have done similar projects to this in recent years, so they have pretty good data about how much they think it's going to cost. I just this afternoon put in your folder a sample letter of engagement or something for them to do the project management, which is going to be the first step in asking them to do it. The estimate for that probably would be about $30,000, but it comes out of the grant. It's all reimbursable and comes out of the grant. But a little bit at a time. They invoice as the project goes, so it's not just a flat fee at one time. So the sample letter that I added to the folder this afternoon, we can read that, and then the next meeting we could have a real letter and vote on approving that if that's what we want to do.
All right, so is there any questions for everybody understand what we're looking to do here?
What is the sample letter?
It would be in the folder,
Yeah,
folder
sorry, I
called
just
the,
added to it.
look for a folder called Culvert Project
Culvert
Management.
project.
Okay, and so,
Letter of support, I think.
the question, oh yeah, Culvert.
Another letter of support.
Got it.
I'd like to say something. One thing on that project there's only one way in, and they're gonna have to put a temporary in
All right.
somewhere, maybe, I think there's room upstream, but, that usually adds to the cost a little bit too. Because there's no other way.
Yeah,
That's only one way in.
yeah, I remember hearing that before,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
And it's that culvert, it's an old boiler tube, it's, I think it's 72 inch. And we've never lost it completely, but it jumped its bank and went down the left-hand side of the road. And we've, oh God, since I've been here, I think we lost it 4 times. And we've went down, and in December when we had that rain, it was
Twirling?
almost ready to go down the edge of the road. Lucky it stopped raining when it did, and it didn't, we didn't lose anything.
So,
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yes.
Do we know the approximate duration of this project in?
Well, if chances are it'd probably be an arch like they put on Tater Lane a couple of years ago. It'd be a multi-plate arch. You're looking at probably, if the weather's good, no big heavy rains, whatever, it usually take them a couple of weeks. So, to get it in. You know, they gotta rip the old one out and prep the other one. And
So is it fair to say this, if we were to go this project management route with Wyndham Regional, is much of the work pre-construction? Like, I mean, because is there more to find out?
I think it's during the whole thing, it's probably a lot of federal compliance issues too, and procurement stuff is what I'm hearing.
I think, as I understand, the management aspect of this is for all the whole scope.
for the whole project.
Yeah, the whole project. So it's not just one thing or the other. It's,
The cost estimating, do we know if they offer that or?
They'll do the cost estimating and the whole 9 yards. They do everything. It's like when we do the stone line ditching. They did the RFP, gave us the footage, you know, I told them what size culverts we wanted to put in, and they just draw it on their RFP and say, this is what's gonna be done. 1,000 feet of stone line ditching, you know, so many feet of 24 inch, so many feet of 18-inch culverts. So they pretty much do all the legwork.
So what I understand is that in this meeting, we're having the discussion about whether to engage with Wyndham Regional for this project management, and then we'll vote on it at the next meeting.
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
So this is our chance to ask a lot of questions. We'll be able to next time as well, but just to, yeah. Anything else anybody else wants to know? Okay, I think we thank you, Erica. Thank you, Dan. Anything else you want to say?
I'd like to say one more thing.
Yeah.
We do have an applicant for my position,
Oh, my goodness.
and I would like to get that started for interview.
So why don't you, since that's not on the agenda, talk it over with you
Okay.
guys, we'll get it going.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Eric and I have talked about it, so we know it's coming. And we can
Okay,
get
all
it
right.
rolling.
Yep.
Great. Thank you very much.
We'll work on that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get it taken care of. That's fantastic news, by the way. All right, we'll go on, folks, now to new business, and I think Kate is here. Kate, yeah, come forward.
So, hi, my name is Kate Kirkwood. I live in Marlboro.
If you'd like to sit right there, that's fine.
Sure. I live in Marlboro, and Thank you for seeing me. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to come the last meeting when I was scheduled. Full disclosure, I serve on the select board in Marlborough, so I have great respect for all of you, and I'm listening and seeing what you're going through. And I know this is not a good day for me to come asking for a letter of support. But I will tell you, this one's a little bit different, I think. I'm not asking for any money. Literally asking for maybe a letter of interest is a better way to describe this. So my field is childhood lead poisoning prevention. I don't work on the medical side, I work on the housing side. So for 20 years, I've been managing rehab projects, writing HUD grants, bringing money into communities to make properties lead safe. So most recently, and I moved to Vermont. I've been doing this in New Hampshire for 20 years, and I moved to Vermont a few years ago, and I see a need here. And so really, I'm just trying to bring my world, my expertise here, and get some money into this community where I now live. That's really what this is about. The short version is, I travel all over. I do this kind of nationally. You can find, if you search me, you can find a TED talk that I've done and books that I've written and that sort of thing. I work at a fairly high level with this and some big dollars. I just finished in the last week writing a $7 million application for Nashua, New Hampshire, and a $4 million for the Sullivan County, which is Claremont, Newport, New Hampshire. So I think that makes $30 million that I brought into New Hampshire in recent years. So what I'm looking at right now is a sort of county-wide, Wyndham County capacity building grant. It'll be about $1.3 million. It will be to ask, I say about because we're still tweaking the budget, but right around $1.3 million, to ask for HUD to give us what they call capacity building money. We will not do any abatement with it. We won't do any construction with it. We'll train contractors. We'll do outreach to property owners. We'll build basically a pipeline of landlords and private single-family home owners who have need for this work and would like to have the work done. And we'll build a pipeline of contractors certified and trained to do the work. So I'm a national trainer also. I just got back from Savannah where I did a bunch of training. I go to Syracuse in a couple of weeks to do more there. So I do this training all the time. So we will build a group of contractors here that have got the national certification, which my company can provide. So there is a match, there's a 10% local community match that will be provided largely by free training, which I will donate because I want to do this. So I'm going to retire probably 5 or 10 years, and I'd like to leave a robust program because I believe strongly in the need. So for example, just to give you an example, what we just did in Sullivan, I just finished a program in Sullivan County that I was the program manager for 3 years. If you go to Sullivan County, New Hampshire website and click on the lead paint program, you'll see videos and information about it, including my name as the program manager. That program is just shutting down. They're out of money. So that's at the end of their cycle. So I would either start up a new cycle with them or preferably do the capacity building here. In Sullivan, we had, over 3 years, we had $2 million. We inspected 80 units. We abated 70 of them. We trained 400 contractors. We created 25 jobs, increased the workforce, improved the tax base. And I take real pride in this. 20 of the homes that we abated, meaning we got rid of the lead hazards, were not habitable when we took them over. So we created 20 new houses, affordable housing, low-income housing. These all have to be low, moderate income families. HUD won't let us work with anybody else. And another 20 of them had lead-poisoned children living in them when we started, who are now living in safe homes. So that's the kind of thing we do, work with the health department to build up the testing results. We're testing now 75% of the kids in that county. So I'm working with the asbestos and lead program here in Vermont anyway, because I've gotten certified as a trainer in Vermont since I've been here. So I would like to do the same kind of thing here in Wyndham County. So I started off going around talking to all the towns. I didn't know how to get this thing started. So you don't have the same kind of county government here that they have across the river. So I've got letters of support now from V.S.A, Marlborough, Putney, presumably from you, from Wilmington, and there'll be more coming. Those are the ones I have, in hand. And then Mark Anderson, the sheriff, saw me do this presentation a few times, and he caught me the other day and said, why don't we just do this at the county level through my office? So they're offering some support as well, which will make it easier to work with a broader group of so that's all. If we get funded, which I think we will, we'll have 3 years, up to 3 years, to just build the pipelines and get the word out, basically, get some people trained, get the information out. I would be coming back asking you to put something on your Facebook page, let me hold an informational meeting, that kind of thing. I'm not looking for any money.
Can I, So by capacity building, I mean, I heard your quick rundown of what you do. But I also heard you talking about abatement as part of the program. So you're training contractors to do this, but for the homeowners or renters who live in a housing that has lead paint, your program also has the capacity to help to underwrite the lead abatement.
So very good point. I stopped short of saying what the next step would be, right?
Well, I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to know what we were supporting.
Long term, right? So let's the part of this grant, the capacity building grant, says in the last 6 months of the grant, we have lead inspections, LEROs we call them, lead inspection risk assessment, done on 25 homes. So then the next step at the end of this capacity building grant, we apply for the actual abatement grant with HUD. And those are the grants that I have managed most often. They'll pay 90%. There's a community match of 10% for the actual abatement. And those are the 7 million, 4 millions that I just got done writing. And in that case, what happens, and we wouldn't want to do that in a community like this until we had enough abatement contractors. You don't have enough contractors now. We get property owners coming forward who need the work. 9 out of 10 homes built before 1940 have lead in them. You have a lot of lead around here. We would get property owners to come forward, but we don't have the capacity of contractors. So that's what we would build over the next couple of years. And then when we apply for funding, typically, particularly landlords, investment property owners are pretty happy to pay 10% if HUD will pay 90% of what they would consider basic renovation, replacing windows and doors and roofs, but it eliminates the lead in the process. So typically the investors are easy. The more difficult is the private homeowner who since we can only deal with low, moderate income families, often don't have the funds. So to be able to do that. So that's where we would look for some supporting grants, and it might be CDBG or it might be some other, I would work on that during the capacity building time. Typically it comes from other nonprofits in the area. So that's, this capacity building is to get us to the point of doing the full abatement, which would be another round of funding.
2 questions. Out of the 30 million deal that you just put one from the New Hampshire, what's your share?
I'm sorry.
Out of the $30 million.
Oh, nothing. I got paid $5,000 to write the grant.
So out of the 1.3 million, what would be your share?
Nothing. This is really a gift to the community. My hope would be, if we get the capacity building grant, that we will hire 3 people to manage that project. My hope is that I would be one of them. But honestly, probably not even the program manager. What I would like to do is train other folks to do this. I'd like to train other people to teach the contractors. I've been teaching contractors for 20 years. I'm kind of, on the waiting end of that. But I'm good at it. That's why I honestly, I don't want to blow my own horn, but I'm pretty good at it and I like doing it. I'm just, I'm getting to the end of my career. So I'd like to train some new people to do it. So I would write myself into a salary of, 10 hours a week or something like that, but write in 2 other people for more, so that we can get a team built so that when the regular grant comes in, when we write up the regular grant, we'll have a staff. I'm not asking for any kind of grant writing fee or percentage or anything like that.
Let me ask you this, because it was actually before us as well, so I can address it as well. But and I sat in on a lot of these kind of projects and missions and et cetera. There's always a high degree of credibility behind it. Obviously, you've got plenty of that, but there's also a high degree of optimism. There's a lot of ifs in your proposal. If, and and I probably have a cynical view just because I've seen a lot of ifs turn into nots. So, and then there's no real guarantee either in terms of what that if turns into in terms of expenses. And then this is obviously to the board, but I read the letter of support, which I just semantically, I like the letter of engagement. That was the letter of interest. But they're in that letter, it says we, quite a bit. Like we will devote resources such as staff time and physical space required to work with the HUD grant management program. We will help to get the word out to attract, train, and maintain a list of lead abatement contractors. We do not want to be involved in that. So I think the language, if the letter does go forth and if it just gets approved, the language has got to change because we are not going to be. I don't want to be involved in any of that. So. that's way outside our purview. I think there's too many ifs. I think the content of the letter is not right. And I think there's expenses down the road. Again, optimism, grants are competitive. And I've heard a lot of people, worked on them myself, or boards that people say, yeah, we're gonna get a grant, we're gonna get this, we're gonna get that. Well, you know what? You've got like 18 other communities all thinking the same thing. It just doesn't always work out that way. So, and again, it's a letter of support. It's an endorsement that I just don't feel comfortable with at this point.
So I could address one,
We have
a
some
little bit of
minutes.
that, if that's okay.
Sure.
The part of the grant budget is to develop a website, which we would have for the grant program. And all I did with the communities in Sullivan County is they linked to our website. So when I say get information out, I mean, on your website, there would be something that said, if you're interested in the lead hazard control program, click here. And it would send them to another website, which is all.
I'm gonna stop you, it was too proprietary for me. I actually did a deep research on it and checked your website, and I didn't look at the TED Talk videos, but even a link like that makes me feel uncomfortable. Sullivan County can do it, but it's not the way I would want to work here, and I don't even know if Putney and Newfane and the other communities that, I don't want to speak for them, I don't know if they, but I don't want a proprietary link to your website to get more information on. It's just not a clean sweep that way.
I don't know what you mean by proprietary link.
It's her business website that we would be linked to.
No, it would be I'm sorry, let me just make a correction there. The organization that is applying is just a loose group of towns, right? It's through, actually now it's through the Sheriff's Department. So the actual applicant is Windham County Sheriff's Department, I think is the way it reads. Their EUEI number is the number that goes into grants.gov. They would employ me and a couple of other people as administrators. They would then offer these services to all the towns in the community. There's no link to my website. The only thing I have to do with it personally is I've donated some training time.
All right, so there'd be no link to this?
No, actually that's an old website. The one you want to look at is probably, I'm trying to think, none of my websites really have anything to do with this. No, it's a website, hasn't even been created yet.
Okay.
The training site is lededu. You could go to lededu.info. Tara.
I just wanted to know, so this is for Windham County, and residential, commercial, and municipalities are all eligible?
No, residential only. Single family homes, multi-family homes, and daycares, childcare facilities. Okay. Yeah, that's all. Mm-hmm. No commercial buildings at all.
And you said that.
That's a HUD stipulation.
Okay, so did you say you have to get 25 residences to apply?
No.
No? Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, we just, we had to pick what HUD said was at the end of your capacity building time, say it's 2 years or 3 years, we want to know that you have a plan to move forward and actually start the work. So what I wrote into the plan was we'll get 25 homeowners who have lead hazards, we believe, to have inspections done. And then we'll have those inspections as a starting place. Those will be essentially applicants to the bigger program.
And then they'll have to match 10%, and if they can't, hopefully they can get a grant.
No, we would come up with yes, they have to match 10% somehow. The way it worked in Sullivan was they were very clear with me at the beginning when they hired me that they didn't want anybody to be turned away because they couldn't afford the match. Okay. So we just, the other companies would donate, sometimes at Lowe's or Home Depot, or sometimes it would be another grant, like a community development grant or a rehab grant of some kind that would match the 10%. But like I said, investment property owners typically are pretty comfortable with that. They like that works for them because it's a business.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, there's nothing to do with that website. I'm sorry you even found that. That's an old website.
I can't get lededu to come up either, so that's okay. But that's all right. But
that's lead-edu, lead-edu.info, I-N-F-O.
Okay.
And that's just a list of training classes, that's all that is. And that would be just because I'm donating 50% of the training fee.
Okay.
So that would be the only website of mine that would be tied to it at all. And then this is the new website that has to be created, which would be the application. lead-edu.info, I-N-F-O. And again, that's just to register for training. No. Other questions?
Are there other questions here from?
I'm sorry, I think I took up more than my time.
That's okay. It's good information.
Estimating here. All right, so let's see, we need to, after the presentation,
I was hoping for a letter of whatever
you
you
have a
want to call
deadline
it.
coming up, right?
I do, the grant is due in about a week.
Okay.
So then my fault for not making it last time, I
Yeah.
apologize.
Well, that's fine. I think what we'll do is we'll probably put it out, see what happens here at the meeting, and then we'll know. All right, so I'll make a motion that we create a letter of support for this project, and that it would be a good opportunity for Guilford to look at down the road. All right, so is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. All right, any further discussion here at the board?
Will we create, so we have one in front of us, will we create yet another one
We
and
need to-
change the
Sounds like
verbiage a
there's
little bit?
edits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the letter will be supportive, but it may not be
Got
this.
it, got it.
Okay.
So the letter, so the wording in the letter that we would send is still to be decided?
No, it's that we have a
template.
A template here that we
Okay.
work with, and it basically would express our support for this larger project. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I do.
All right, thanks. Very good. Any abstaining? Okay, thank you. Very good. We'll get that to you soon.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. All right, folks, now we're going to move to a potential single meeting action. The reason we've been warned about this in the past, that there are just, as we do our regular course of business, there are a number of single, non-employee engagement contracts that we need to, work agreements they're called, actually,
Yes.
that we need to sign in order to keep the work moving forward. So we have a couple here tonight.
Yep, so these, I will say again, they're required by PASIF, by our insurance company. It's for non-employee work agreements, so these folks have to say what the liability that the town is not taking on them is, because they're not our employee, and neither of these contracts even have any, there's no dollar amounts here, it just says compensation for the services will be paid via invoices submitted to the treasurer. And so we have the non-employee work agreement for Maryanne Lawrence, who for years has been the pound keeper for Guilford, and for Rory Lincoln, who mows the grass in
The cemeteries?
Yes, in the cemetery, some of the cemeteries.
Some
not
of
all
the cemeteries, right.
So are they 1099, do we 1099 them?
Yes, I would say yes. But this is not the 1099, this is just their contract.
Okay.
For insurance, this is what PASIF wants for every contractor that we contract with.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Yes,
Yes,
I will approve
That was
these.
good.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, thank you, folks. Then we'll move on to the next order of business, and that's the potential single meeting action. This is a single meeting action. The reason for it being a single meeting action that it's statute requires that we move within a certain time. So what this would be is called a notice of vacancy in office. And every time that there is an elected official that, we've done this before, for instance, with the elected auditors, the elected auditor position a few months back. So when there comes a vacancy, however it comes, the select board is required by the state to create this notice of vacancy, and we have to do that within 10 days. We have to get the notice up, and it has to be up within 10 days. So that's what this notice is. I'll read the notice out loud, and then we can determine whether or not we'd like to approve it. In accordance with 24 V.S.A. Section 961A, the Select Board of Guilford, Vermont hereby gives notice of a vacancy created by resignation in the office of Town Clerk effective August 22nd, 2024. The Select Board, pursuant to 24 V.S.A. Section 963, will make an appointment to fill this vacancy at a warned meeting. The person appointed will serve until a town election is held. So just saying we understand, we're still investigating how this process works, but we believe that would mean through town meeting until March. Citizens' right for petition to vote. There's a paragraph here about, well, I'll just read it. I don't even know why it's here, but citizens' right to petition for a vote. Title 17 V.S.A. Section 2643 and 24 V.S.A. Section 963 grant citizens the right to petition for a vote to replace the Select Board's appointee at a special town meeting. To exercise this right, oh no, I understand, I'm sorry. To exercise this right, citizens must present a petition calling for an election for this office signed by 5% of the legal voters of the town to the town clerk prior to the next annual town meeting. If a special town meeting is called, the newly elected town officer will remain in office for the balance of the unexpired term. If a special town meeting is not called, the Select Board's appointee will remain in office until the next annual town meeting. Some distinctions there. Additional information pertaining to this notice and its contents may be obtained by contacting Town Administrator Erica Elder. There's an email address and a phone number during normal office hours, and it will be dated today if we so choose to pass that. So that's a requirement by the state for us to do this.
So we need a motion to accept this letter?
To approve it.
Okay, I so move.
All right.
We have a question about.
Let's get a second on that.
Oh,
Second.
sorry.
Thank you, Michael. All right, now go. Yeah, your question.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
it's
yeah.
Chip's question.
So I was gonna, but so if a special town meeting is called, the newly elected town officer will remain in office for the balance of the unexpired term, right? So whenever the term ends. 2026. If a special town meeting is not called, then the Select Board's appointee will remain in office until the next annual town meeting, which is 2025. To me, that sounds backwards. Like if you would want to call a special meeting, right? Then you would, you would want to call a special meeting, then
I
go,
understand.
see what I'm saying, to get it into 2025. But if you don't, but you see, it's backwards.
No,
I
that's
Oh, you understand it?
Here's the
Okay.
distinction. The Select Board, by statute, will be appointing the next town clerk.
Right.
In a special meeting, right?
No,
No.
well, it would, no, in a warned
Warned
meeting.
Okay.
So, like today's meeting, for instance, is warned, is a warned
Right.
meeting, so we could do that. So if when the Select Board appoints, then the point is that the community still has the opportunity to voice, the statute is, as soon as the community can give voice to that,
Yeah,
that's the next election.
right.
But if the community votes to elect a new town clerk, then that will fill out the previous
okay.
person's.
So
Yeah.
the special
Unexpired.
meeting is only in reference to the community calling one.
Exactly.
Okay.
And just to be really clear, by statute, certainly the community can call for a special election if they so choose. And the Select Board can or cannot choose to have that special meeting. That's the
Okay.
case in every single one of these, every single petition has to be reviewed by the Select Board.
5%.
May I have spent 5 minutes?
Yeah, all right, so I can explain to you later. Taking time.
Gotcha. I see what you mean now. Yeah, right, exactly. That's what the unexpired term phrase is. All right, I'm on the same page. Okay, cool.
All right.
When I read that earlier this week, I'm like, that sounds awfully
Yeah,
backwards to me.
it's really tricky to get all the
Yeah.
subtleties.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really
I think
is.
there's those
It's
of
very-
us in here that know how complicated the statutes can be.
So, all right, so is there any further discussion about this notice, posting this notice?
No.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, all those in favor of posting this notice, say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. All right, then we'll sign that at the end and it will be closed in 15 days. Then, the next,
It'll be posted for
Okay, we got it done. Okay. Now, the next item on the agenda is a single meeting action, and the reason for this single meeting action is that it's required again by statute. The select board has received an allegation of violation of open meeting law. And we'll read it here in just a second. But I want to, I have to get to it here.
I have it here.
All right, I'm gonna get it
Sorry.
here. But,
That, and then I have,
is this it? No.
this is complaint form.
Okay, that one's just good. Yeah. 1 second. I thought it was up here. I'm very sorry, folks. And whenever the select board receives an allegation of violation of open meeting law, the select board is required to act on that within 10 days of receipt. So that's why we're doing it this evening. Otherwise, we'd have to have a special meeting in order to do it. And whenever thank you.
Sorry,
This is the response.
yes, so this is the allegation.
All right, okay, thank you. So the allegation is, let's see, the specific allegation has to do with open meeting law, and the specific cure, the specific allegation has to do with the entire, as submitted by the resident, has to do with the entire open meeting law. That's what's listed as the specific violation. The specific cure requested is that the Guilford meeting rules of procedure should allow citizens to comment during the meeting on every agenda item discussion the select board is discussing. And then there were additional facts that could be added to the situation, and they are, there was a motion made by Veranda Porch to access the general reserve fund for repair of the library sign. It was noted on and it was voted on. The decision was made unanimously in favor, but this was not on the agenda. This is a violation of open meeting law, and it is not allowed by Guilford meeting rules of procedure. No binding action can be taken on matters not appearing on the agenda. Sorry, Michael, we'll have to go forward. This same violation happened. That's not you, that must be somebody else. Is that me? Mine's turned off.
Are you timing yourself?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, God. The same violation happened again during updates and reports, and is when a motion was made to access the Highway Reserve Fund. The select board voted, and there was no opportunity for the public to speak because it wasn't on the agenda. Okay, so that's the essence of the violation, of the allegation of the violation. I'll read. In order for us to process these, we contact the town's attorney, because these are legal acts. The select board in going through these is functioning in its judicial role, not in its administrative role. So we contacted the town's attorney, and I will read this. I will read again so everyone can understand the essence of what's going on. The allegation is that on August 21st, 2024, Tammy Sargent alleged that the Guilford Selectboard violated 1 V.S.A. sections 310 through 314 of Vermont's open meeting law on June 24th, 2024 by taking binding action on 2 matters not appearing on the agenda. Ms. Sargent's specific violation claims are the following. And I read those earlier. There was a motion made by Veranda to access the General Reserve Fund for repair of the library sign, and the same violation happened again during updates and reports when a motion was made to access the Highway Reserve Fund. Ms. Sargent's requested cure is Guilford meeting rules of procedure should allow citizens to comment during the meeting on every agenda item discussion that the select board is discussing. So the response that we have here is that we'll be making is that as I've said before, pursuant to 1 V.S.A. section 314B2, the select board is required to respond publicly within 10 calendar days to a written notice of an alleged open meeting law violation. That's what we're doing now. And the select board will state that we will vote on this, but the select board did not violate open meeting law on June 24th, 2024, when it voted on and approved 2 items. Ms. Sargent claims were not on the agenda. The 2 items were included on the agenda under agenda item 6A regarding warrants. As such, there's no need for a separate motion and vote on the 2 expenditures. And that's supported by statute and existing law. They were mentioned only to provide additional information to the select board, and the separate votes were superfluous as the select board approved the items when it approved the warrant. The select board has determined that no violation of the open meeting law has occurred and no cure therefore is necessary. Ms. Sargent's cure requests that citizens be allowed to comment during the meeting on every single item on the agenda. The select board will respond to that by saying that V.S.A. section 312H requires only that the public be provided a reasonable opportunity to express itself at an open meeting. In the matter of Heron versus the town of Guilford, the Vermont Supreme Court recently affirmed a Vermont Superior Court decision that determined that the 5 minutes the select board allocates to each speaker at a designated time during the meeting is sufficient to meet 1 V.S.A. section 312H. That requirement is met. So the motion here is, and I will so move, that there was no violation of open meeting law here. We were doing everything in accordance with statute. I'm sorry for any confusion that might have appeared in the community, but in fact we were on board with the statute. So the motion is that there is no violation of open meeting law. And I'd like to see if there's a second for that.
Second.
Thank you, Michael. All right, good. Is there any further discussion here at the board about this? Do we all understand what's going on? We're all okay here? Any questions, any responses? Okay, I'll take a vote. And again, we're acting in our judicial capacity here. Is there any, so all those in favor of accepting the motion as made, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, thank you very much. All right, folks, now we'll, let's see here. I need to see if there's no other business this evening that I'm aware of, and the select board has not received any further correspondence that we need to talk about tonight. So we'll open now the floor for, what time is it? It's 8 o'clock. 2 minutes after. So we'll open the floor now for public comment, and we have 15 minutes. If there's anything anybody in the community would like to say. There's Michael Creamer. I'll ask you to unmute. Here we go. Go ahead and unmute. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Michael.
Okay. I'd just like, if I may, to come back to the question about the anonymous letters. First, just as a side note, I want to second what Barry Leshnick said. And I can't speak if there were any misunderstandings about it, but I will say that in all of the reporting that I saw, whether they were in the Reformer, in the Commons, on television, private conversations, I think the assumption was always that the letters didn't come from the town itself, and that was the source of the problem. Although they might have been the form of the letters, the envelopes might have been such that a reasonable person might have misunderstood them to be from the town of Guilford. But the important point not to lose track of here is that somebody did send them. And I think given the discussion at this meeting, at the last meeting, that there are a lot of people who are interested in getting into the bottom of who did send them. So I guess the one request I would make of the select board is that going forward, they keep the town up to date how any investigation into this is proceeding, especially from the Secretary of State's office. But one point I think is really important to make is that This isn't the first time this sort of thing has happened in conjunction to the elections in Guilford. I mean, we all remember those anonymous flyers, which were just filled with misinformation that were sent out just before the town meeting vote on the library bond issue. And in particular, the cluster, some number of anonymous threatening letters that were sent to individuals, most notably, I guess, Kathy Wilkins, who was the librarian at the time. The point here is that these were attacks on our elections, and they affect everybody in Guilford, and whoever was held responsible really needs to be held accountable. And like I say, this wasn't the first time something like this has happened, but we need to do whatever we can to make sure it's the last time. I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Sorry, comment here in the room. Anybody else have anything? Identify yourself.
Dolores Clark on Cemetery Hill. I just, as a whole thing here, it seems that talk about attack on our elections. We as a town elected Danielle. We as a town elected the auditor, and they're pushed out or left. And then all of a sudden, it's not a town vote anymore, it's a select board vote.
That's
on
by
who gets to
statute.
be-
By statute.
By statute, but it just seems like what the town has voted for ends up being what the select board want. And every
By statute. Just keep saying that to yourself, Dolores.
No, you keep saying it to me. I know, by statute.
Thank you.
But it just seems like our vote by statute is being kind of usurped by the select board by statute. That Danielle was made so uncomfortable working in here that she was quit halfway a job that she was liked and was extremely good at, and then that she was basically pushed out, and now you guys can put whoever you want in there. It just doesn't seem right. By statute.
By statute.
So I would suggest you talk to your legislators about that. They're the ones.
What, I am talking to my legislature.
No,
the town
we have no
legislature.
control over statute. We don't.
No, you don't
we-
have it over
Exactly.
statute, but you do have it over how you're running
Thank you.
the select board.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shut
All
off
right.
once again.
All right.
I just want to say, and I think I'm speaking for the select board, that we don't want our town to be without a town clerk, period. So nobody wants that. And if I'm not speaking for everyone, I'm speaking for myself.
That wasn't my point.
Mary Wisman, there are some people up there with their hands up still.
Yeah, thank you very much. I can read. Thanks very much.
I wasn't being rude, so
I didn't say that. I'm just telling you I can read. That's all. Mary Wisman.
That is rude.
Mary Wisman.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say that I'm sick over Danielle leaving. I think she was a fantastic town clerk. She really spoke to the people. It didn't matter who you were. I agree completely with what Dolores had just said, and Michael. And I'm saddened that I'm not hearing from anybody on the select board that they're concerned, and maybe you just haven't gotten there yet, but that you're concerned about this happening and for her. And I'm saddened by that. It's surprising to me. And it's too bad because our town is a small town, and although we have our differences, we should be caring for one another.
Thank you. Thank you. Charlie Light.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, I'm confused about how this all came down. My understanding is that this anonymous letter or letters happened. An investigation was asked for. I don't know what the town clerk and the assistant town clerk were asked by, was it the state, the Department of State, the Electoral Commission, the AG's office, and when they got a request for their records concerning this whole anonymous letter, they promptly resigned. Is that the case?
I don't know.
Reason.
There was no reason stated in the resignation.
Then how come people are saying they were pushed out? Did the select board push them out, or did they resign for reasons unknown, but circumstantially could be related to the investigation?
We don't know. Thank you.
I mean, that would be a reasonable person's assumption, is that these anonymous letters happened. They stirred up a great deal of controversy. The Democratic committee, the Wyndham, whoever it was in the Democratic Party, asked for an investigation. An investigation was presumably started, and these folks, the town clerk and the assistant town clerk, were asked for records, at which point they promptly resigned. To me, that means they were somehow implicated in the anonymous letters.
I can speak to that, and I can say that I know that Danielle did respond to that request with some.
But then how come everyone's saying they were pushed out?
Charlie, that's not a question for the select board. The select board has no information. You'll need to talk to the folks who are saying that, and this isn't the forum to do that in. Thank you for your thoughts. Yeah. Any other comments here? Yes.
On a different note, the sidewalk piece, because I don't always make the meetings, down in Algiers, I wanted to just mention, wherever that goes, however it's talked about and looked at, I didn't hear, I was hoping Danny would have mentioned it, the sidewalk tractors, like depending how long the sidewalk is, which I don't have all those details, they can be expensive, the upkeep, adding an extra employee for that job, and all the maintenance.
Oh, yeah, so lots of cost considerations, yes.
Because you have to have one of those to really.
Yeah.
Nancy Detcher, Green River Road. I'm not clear on whether anybody has said that a sidewalk is going to be part of this.
We don't know at this point.
Okay.
So it would be a consideration if it came, but we don't know anything now.
Right. Okay.
Any other comments?
I have.
Oh, sorry.
Jenny McNeil, Sweet Pond Road. You said you'd get back to me when I was, I'm not sure that I'm confused, but I need clarification on if, once the select board appoints somebody for the town clerk position, from my understanding is that the townspeople could get 5% of the town's voters, correct, to sign that for a special town meeting to get another town clerk. But you had said no to me on that, and that you'd get back to me. What part am I not getting correct?
I think at the moment, what you were saying, what I heard you saying didn't fit with right. What you just said is correct.
Yes. Okay.
So when the select board appoints, with the process is the select board will be appointing a town clerk.
Right.
And then if there are voters in the town who 5% of the voters want to create a petition to have a special meeting, the special meeting would, by restraint, again, by the statute, the special meeting would be an election, essentially. Correct. And so there would need to be candidates put up for an election that would happen at a different time. And that person, if elected, whoever gets elected at that moment, then would serve the remainder.
No, that's
of
my
the-
that's
yeah,
my
yeah.
understanding, thank you, but you had said no about when I said the 5%, so I just wanted to make sure I was correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Connie Burton, Weatherhead Hollow Road. But I believe you also said that even if the town gives a petition with 5% of the voters, that it's up to the select board to either accept that petition and set up a special town
That's
meeting,
the, yes.
or the select board can say, no, we're gonna go with our
Yes.
choice.
No, not go with our choice, the choice, that we would not, let's say, for instance, because the special meetings are elections and they take time, whatever, let's say that a petition came, once the person's appointed, let's say that a petition arrived in our office just saying on January 15th, the select board might decide not to then have a vote on February 15th, have an election, when we're gonna have a vote on March the 5th, or whatever the town meeting is. So those kind of considerations. Now, I don't think it's, obviously we're here to do, and so far as in my experience, whenever there's been those kind of gestures from the community, they've been honored. But by statute, it's the select board that makes that decision, for all the different reasons there are to make decisions about that.
So it might be a timing issue, or it could be that the select board just doesn't want to have a special meeting.
That's correct, yeah. It's possible.
I'd just like to know the
Excuse me,
statute.
what's your name? I'm sorry.
Patricia Bullock, Guilford Center Road. I'd just like to know the number of the statute that says you can make that decision overriding the 5% of the town.
Okay, we'll get
What
that
is
to
the
you.
number of that statute, please?
We'll get that to you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, folks, I think we'll move ahead then. Thanks very much for all the good comments. It is a very tough time, there's no denying it. I will just say, in part response to Mary Wisman, that the select board was completely surprised by the resignation of Danielle. We had absolutely no idea that it was in the works. And there was no conversation with the select board about the potential. So that we would have a feeling for it in any particular way, or that we could be characterized as setting it up in any way is really not correct. And so we are very concerned about the town. And we want to make sure that all the offices in our town are well taken care of and well appointed. And we're just as surprised as anybody else in town. So we'll do our best to get a town clerk situation as soon as we can. We have some things we'll be considering this evening that might lead us in a good direction. And then we will, in executive session, and then we will, and then we'll move ahead. So now folks, we're going to move into, I think that's number 1. We're going to move to an executive session at this point. And so what that means is the community is free to stay outside, and we'll call you back in when we're ready. And then, and folks that are online, we'll put you in the waiting room and call you back.
You should.
So, Select Board, we have an executive session to discuss labor relations agreements with employees per 1 V.S.A, section 313A, 1B. And I move that premature knowledge of the discussions could potentially put the town or any person involved at significant disadvantage. And that's the reason we'll move in. We'll have 2 motions here, so that's the first. All right, so is there a second for that motion to move in? Thanks. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any, 1 abstention. Then, let's see. I move further that we move into executive session to discuss labor relations agreements with employees per 1 V.S.A. section 313A 1B. And we invite Erica Elder and Ellie Mayanen to participate. So is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, any abstaining?
Oops, I'm not gonna.
Yeah. All right, so we are now in the executive session. I move that we come out, exit executive session. The executive session will end at 9:19. Is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Chip. All in favor of coming out of the executive session?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? All right.
I'd like to make a motion.
Shall we invite them?
Let's wait, let's wait a minute and let everybody in.
Okay, and then all now.
Just not here, anyone outside.
Okay.
All right, welcome back to folks that are here. We've called back into session.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we temporarily appoint Ellie Maryanne as the town clerk.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Yes, there's a backlog of work and election deadlines on the horizon. We feel that it's urgent to appoint a town clerk. We have voted to appoint Ellie Maryanne temporarily as acting town clerk. We will be using the support of the highly capable and skilled staff to fill the assistant town clerk and assistant treasurer positions, roles.
Is there anything else anybody would like to say? Okay, we'll take a vote then. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, thank you. So now we'll move forward in the meeting. We have to, let me read the actions from the previous meeting to put them into the record. We approved the minutes of the regular meeting of July 22nd, 24. We approved the minutes of a special meeting of July 26th, 24. We approved the warrants. We accepted the sheriff contract committee report. We approved the letter to the town, a letter to the town clerk. We appointed the Algiers Fire District Task Force, and we approved the emergency management generator repair. For today's meeting, we approved a set of minutes. We approved the warrants. We approved sending a letter of support for the Algiers traffic calming demonstration project. We approved a letter of support to Kate Kirkwood for the HUD lead hazard reduction capacity building grant. We approved 2 non-employee work agreements per VLCT. We authorized a notice of vacancy in the town clerk office to be posted. We made a judgment on an allegation of violation of open meeting law. And then we appointed Ellie Maryanne as temporary town clerk. All right, I think that's everything. We have one more order of business. Is there an order to, a motion to adjourn?
I would love to make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Chip. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Thank you all very kindly. We shall see you at the next meeting. Thanks very much.